Hey everybody, this is Sean V. Bradley, and listen, I want to talk to you about something crazy. What's trending right now all over the internet, obviously, is this whole Diddy situation and the whole being locked up and all these charges. I have a lot of people reaching out to me because they knew that I did a lot of federal time, and I did it in New York. So I want to first start by saying is that I was actually charged by the DEA and the Secret Service out of the Eastern District of New York, which is Brooklyn. And so every federal inmate gets their federal number. Mine is 46743-053. That -053 states that I was based out of the Eastern District, my case, and yada, yada, yada. So anyway, I did probably a little bit over a year and a half in MDC Brooklyn for pre-trial. What people need to understand is that there's a lot of propaganda, you know what I mean? The jail is definitely fucked up. It's a hellhole, you know what I mean? But it's not a prison, you know what I mean? It is a pre-trial detention. So what MDC Brooklyn is, it is where, it's like the federal version of the county jail. Okay, so that's where you go before, you know, you fight your case, or before you go to trial, and before you get convicted, and before you get sentenced. That's where you're at. So let me just tell you my experience. You know, there's some goods and some bads about the jail. One, it's got a dorm. So not for Diddy. Diddy's in protective custody, which is the special housing unit, the SHU. But most every other inmate in there that's in general population, they're not in a cell. So I actually preferred MDC Brooklyn over MCC Manhattan, and damn sure after I got sentenced and I went to the, you know, the medium security facilities, the FCIs and etc. But for him, because he's high profile and, you know, he's a celebrity and all this other stuff, they've got him in the special housing unit. That sucks. But yo, people are keeping it real. That Brooklyn Federal Prison is not a cool place to be. It's definitely dangerous. One of my homeboys, one of my friends, and one of my brothers, Michael Garrett, died in MDC Brooklyn. You could Google it. Rapper ODs off of synthetic marijuana. Nobody believes that Rab died off of synthetic marijuana. He was, you know, filing a major multi-million-dollar lawsuit against the NYPD in New York, and you know, he died in federal custody, which is really rare for a marijuana synthetic overdose, but whatever. So one of my, you know, friends, one of my brothers died at MDC Brooklyn. In addition to that, and you can Google this, in 1997, there was a federal sting operation because of all the corruption in the federal prison. Okay, so the Office of Inspector General, which is like the federal version of Internal Affairs, created an operation called Badfellas. Ladies and gentlemen, I can't even fucking make this shit up. You could Google it. Operation Badfellas, MDC Brooklyn, 1997. They arrested 14 correction officers because they were found to be corrupt. They had unit managers, counselors, correction officers, all sorts of people. 14 federal indictments because they were giving cell phones, vodka, wine, food, privileges, all sorts of shit to the Italians and to the Russians. Now, the people don't realize, you know, I'm half Belizean. My dad is from Belize, and then my mom is Sicilian, right? So a place right outside of Palermo. So when I went to federal prison when I was 19 years old, I was with the Italians, you know, the Italians, you know what I mean? But I spoke Russian because I was a Russian major from Rider University. Da, я говорю по-русски немного. So I was the liaison between the Italians and the Russians when I was at MDC Brooklyn, you know, and the people that I was with, very serious people. You know, on the Russian side, you had Neponchik Ivankov, you had, you know, Vladimir Topko, which is a very, very, very dear friend of mine. And then on the Italian side, crazy shit, man, you know, with George Zappola, George of the Neck Zappola, who was a capo from the Lucchese family. Then, you know, there was Peter Gubitoci, Jimmy Frogs, you know, Charlie Tuna, and there's a whole cast of characters that were there. But I'm telling you, they were getting it. Just like Goodfellas, that's why they call the Operation Badfellas. It's pretty wild, man. You know, we were getting a lot of shit, you know, from the feds, you know, from the correction officers. But I mean, so there's corruption, you know, there's dirty, you know, federal officers, there's gangs, there's violence, you know, there's you know, murder, it's prison. It's not a pretty place. You know, I think that Diddy is still probably in shock. You know, I know that he knew that this was coming, but I believe that he's probably still in shock. Like, man, this is actually really happening. I remember when I first got arrested, you know, I was still in shock, man, because I was running shit. Like, I was running VIP parties in New York City. I was, you know, had this big operation going on, you know, and you know, I had already got arrested 3 times before, and I was out on bail, and I thought that, you know, I was untouchable, and here I am, boom, I got pinched by the feds. So, you know, just like, you know, with death, there's and grief, there's different stages to it. When you get incarcerated, I believe it's similar. I mean, there's different stages. One is just like shock. And then, you know, I'm not going to put them in particular order, but then there's fear, you know, like, oh my God, you know, I might be here forever. And then there might be anger, like, yeah, all these motherfuckers that I rode with, that I did stuff with, or that was part of whatever I was part of, where they at now? That's all the shit that this guy's probably going through. But I'm gonna tell you right now, the feds have got a 97% conviction rate. Again, a 97% conviction rate, and there haven't been listed any co-defendants yet. You know what I mean? So there's like 50 witnesses and things like that. Come on, people. This is Homeland Security. This ain't the local yokels. Now, don't get it twisted. There's another high-profile case right now out of the state of Georgia, you know, for Young Thug, and he's been there for years. It's the longest trial in the history of the state of Georgia. But you got to understand something. No disrespect, but the Joro Bureau investigation, the, you know, GBI, is not the FBI. You know what I mean? There's a big, massive difference between state and federal prosecution. So my prediction is one of 3 things. 1, this motherfucker gets convicted and he goes away for a long time. 2nd, he cooperates. And you're like, oh, he's the kingpin. Nah, but he doesn't have murders and salacious things on there. Don't get me wrong. I'm not minimizing trafficking and this, that, and the other thing or whatever. But if Sammy the Bull could get a 4-year sentence, you know what I mean, for 19 murders, this motherfucker was part of 19 murders, and they gave him 4 years or whatever it was. I'm telling you, if Diddy's got these blackmail tapes, you know, if he's got any of this, you know, evidence or what have you, especially with celebrities and billionaires and politicians or what have you, which leads me to my next thing. You know, if he doesn't cooperate for either a pass or a severely discounted prison sentence, he's either going to get killed or commit suicide, you know? So again, the 3 things that I see in his future is either conviction with massive amount of time. 2nd, he cooperates and gives up, you know, bigger people, more important people, or murders or something like that, you know, or he's gonna be dead. They're gonna stop him from breathing, and it'd either be a suicide or it will be a murder. But either way, you know, like, he's done. What I don't see in his future is an acquittal, or he's gonna beat this. There's absolutely 0 shot that this dude is gonna walk away and beat the case. Like, this is not fiction. Like, even John Gotti, the Teflon Don that got him in the end, he died in prison with cancer. You know what I mean? So he's finito. The days of Bad Boy and all that are over. And I think it's gonna have an unfortunate repercussion, you know, for other people. Now, if they are part of it, then, you know, it is what it is. But I think his kids, their music career, King Combs and all that stuff, they're going to be toxic. Nobody's going to want to fuck with these people, you know? And then if you notice, ton of these celebrity and A-list people coincidentally started resigning within hours of Puffy being arrested by the feds. You know, like Kevin Liles, you know, head of this label, head of that label. So I think that we're only seeing the fallout. And I also don't want you to forget, Keefe D right now is on trial for murder of Tupac, and he is saying that Diddy did it. you know, Diddy paid him and his people $1 million to clip, you know, Tupac. So you wouldn't be surprised if the feds somehow supersede, because listen, you heard it first from SVB. There's something called superseding indictments. They're famous for superseding indictments. So it is what it is. Let's see what happens. I'm out.